Welcome to Beyond the Campfire, the Dead by Daylight podcast where we dive into the stories, secrets, and strategies behind the horrors and heroes within the fog. My name's Dogbomb, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Lemon. Lemon, hello.
Hi, Dogbomb.
Hello there. How are you this week?
Ooh, I've been good. Not played that much DBD, but it's been an okay week. The blood moon has started. How about you?
I'm super well. Lots of good personal news this week. I'm happy this week. Tired, as always, but happy.
The day you are not tired, I think we will all drop off our chairs or bikes, or maybe we should have a warning if people are driving while listening to this podcast, because if you're not tired, something is wrong with the world.
That is true. We have had some comments on our older episodes this week. So we might have to try and remember what the questions were for those episodes, just so we can make sense of the comments. Because we have a comment on episode 6, which was the hillbilly. You remember that far back?
Hillbilly. Oh, that's turtleneck guy. Yes.
That was a long time ago. We had a comment from Dave, who I think is a new commenter. So thank you, Dave. It says, really enjoying your podcast and going into the backstories of characters. Killermain here, and you guys have influenced me. I did my first Twitch stream yesterday. All being well, we'll be back on today at some point. Then it's time to hang around with some pesky survivors. Dave, I would love to know what your Twitch handle is. If you would leave another comment and just let us know. I would like to come and say hello and hang out.
Definitely. I know I responded to that one asking for the same thing because we need to follow them.
We need to know. We also had comment on episode 10, which was The Shape. And the question was about the hottest killer. And Kathy said, for me, the hottest killer in the game is Trickster. But they are also the most frustrating as well. Isn't that always the way with hot people?
Well,
Aren't they always frustrating?
Yeah, they are. They are. That's fair. But when I read that comment, I was like, Kathy, who the fuck are you? That is so wrong. You do not think Trickster is the hottest killer in the game.
We know, don't we? We know it's Nemesis.
Yes. And she did correct herself further down in her comment, I think.
Good. Kathy was on a bit of a binge, I think, because also commented on episode 11, which was Laurie Strode. The question was about watching the Halloween movies. And Kathy said, I have seen all of the films, and the last couple of recent films were really good. I also asked about skill checks. Skill checks, they frustrate me, but know they are part of the game. I like the Skull Merchant mini games, but hate the Doctor's perk that makes you go anti-clockwise. And that was Kathy again. Thank you, Kathy. So now we know what Kathy lusts after and loathes in the game, which is nice. Thank you. We're getting to know Kathy. Do you remember what your question was last week, Lemon?
Yes. It was when you realize the Hex Hunter's Lullaby is up, if you go hunt for it, or if you just stick to your gem.
My question was, what is your favorite chase music? And we did have one response on last week's episode, which was from Drunk David. Drunk David said, I like to get the gen done first, then look for the hex if it doesn't take too long. But if it's really hard to find, I'll assume somebody else is looking for it too. They also said, my favorite killer chase music is the Houndmaster. Close second is Wesker and also Dracula. Thank you, Drunk David. So, your question was about Hunter's Lullaby or hexes in general, I guess. My answer for your question is, I guess, I always look for the hexes. If I know there's a hex out there, it doesn't really matter what it is. I will always try to find it on my way between generators generally. So if I see the little hex symbol, I will try to sort of look for it. If I'm on a generator, I'll constantly be swiveling to look for it. If I'm on a hook, I'll constantly be swiveling to look for it. But yeah, the two that I always go for are Hunter's Lullaby, because I hate it, and Devour Hope. If I know Devour Hope's out there, I will go and look for that as well, because that can ruin a team. How about you, Lemon?
I definitely go for Hunter's Lullaby because, oh my god, I hate that one. But other hexes, I will look at the, like, usual places for tomes. Um, but yeah, I'll try to find them.
Yeah, we're quite good at, when we're playing in a Swift, we're quite good at shouting out when you're being chased beside one.
Yeah.
We will often try and die
Go
in close to
yeah,
it,
go down
so that
by
the
a
other person
tutu.
could. Yeah. How about your favorite chase music? Do you have any favorite chase music?
No, I don't. Do you?
Yeah, I think so. I really, really like the most recent Killers, particularly Krasu. Krasu's is a banger. It's like all kind of, I don't know how to explain it. But it's in a really strange rhythm, and it's just really, really rhythmic. It's really loud, which a lot of the chase music is really loud. But yeah, for some reason that just it really hits me in the right place. The other one that I like or dislike is the clowns. I recognize the clowns quite quickly, and um, it's just got that kind of circus unease about it, which I quite like. And the one that I dislike, I guess, is the Legion. As soon as I hear the Legion music, I'm like, oh no, it's a Legion game. And
Yeah.
that's more to do with the Legion than the music, I guess.
Well, I have a weird thing with music. So right now, I cannot recall any of the Killer's Chase music at all.
Mm,
But if I'm in a game, I can definitely hear like, oh, that is the Knight, that is Legion.
mm.
But right now, you could put a gun to my head and I could not tell you Wesker's Chase music.
Have you ever played DBD, DBDL? DBDL? Don't know how you say it. But it's basically like, it's like Wordle, but for killer music. Have you ever played this?
No, I never heard about it.
Oh, I will link it in the show notes, and people can go play DBDL.
Is that one
DB.
daily?
I think it's daily. It might be weekly. I've seen streamers play it before. It gets a bit samey. You won't play it every day, but occasionally it's kind of fun to test yourself.
I will fail.
What have you been playing this week? Any DVD? Any other games?
I have been playing some DBD. Um, have I played anything else? I don't think so. Have I?
I have no
No.
idea. I have been playing lots of Repo.
I have been watching you
Um,
playing Repo.
it was so much fun. My obsession of Hitman is still there, but I've not touched it at all this week, because we played Repo on stream on Saturday and we continued over to the Sunday. It was so much fun. Um,
It was fun to
yeah.
watch, but I feel like would you call them killers? The weird
The beasts or the
yeah,
anomalies, or I don't know what they are called in the game.
I felt like it was a bit too scary for me.
It was pretty scary. And also there was a lot of DVD terminology coming in, like looping, and
Yeah.
it was kind of fun.
The tall thingy you looped forever on the stairs?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was lots of fun. But I have played the Blood Moon event started this week, as we said. I have played a fair bit of the Blood Moon event as Survivor. I have literally just played one game of Killer before we came on stream to record, and it's been pretty good from what I've played so far.
Cool. I have had a few games. I don't feel like I've played that much, but maybe I just remember wrong.
We do have some DBD developments. There's actually quite a lot of news this week, Lemon. Obviously, the big news is the Blood Moon event started, but also at time of recording, we are already at the end of the track for the community blood points. So every game currently is worth 6 times blood points. The event also gives you Arella and Spirit unlocks full outfits for both of those. There's also weapons for Dredge, Nurse, and Plague. And Jeff, Meg, and Gabriel get shirts as well. And then the usual badges, banners, and charms to collect. So yeah, everything's going blood pointy on Dead by Daylight. Lots of people are trying to get their P100s and things out this week.
I I have my main to P100, but I do not know who should be next. I don't have like a
Um,
person I'm like, ooh, I want those to be. So maybe that's why I'm not this fussed about the whole blood points event thing.
Maybe Naughty Bear,
I don't play killer enough.
but when you do, that's your main.
Yeah, but imagine a P100 naughty bear that can't hook a single survivor.
That would be fun. That's very Naughty Bear. There have been more Grimoire reveals. So I think this is the one that you voted on, Lemon. They have now revealed the logo for Chorus of Sin, which I think is the chapter name. They have now revealed the Mori concept.
That's what
The
I voted for.
the name of the killer is going to be Hopeless Exile, I think. I think that's what that's voting for. And then the perk names for the killer are Vigilance, Hex Under Your Thumb, and Lay Waste. No idea what they are, but it's fun to know the names of the perks. It's fun to know them early. Uh, the survivor perks are going to be called Fruits of Your Labor, Salvation's Cry, and Boon Steadfast. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will have theories on what these things mean.
To be fair, like behavior probably don't know yet, but they're good.
Maybe. Surely they must have an idea. You can't just come up with names. Actually, maybe you can. When we learn about David King, maybe you can. We'll find out later in the episode. They have also, like I say, lots of news this week. They have also revealed a whole bunch of stats with survivor pick rates and killer pick rates. So the most picked survivor across both high MMR, so high skill players, and broad MMR, which is everyone. The most picked is Sable,
Still?
which we sort of knew, yeah. This is between September last year and February this year. Sable is still up there. However, escape rates, Sable is not in the top 5
That's
of the
funny.
escape rates. The top of the broad MMR is Quentin.
Oh, who plays Quentin?
I guess one guy who's pretty good plays
That is
Quentin.
good.
But the number one of the high MMR, it's Ace.
I think you're reading that wrong.
No, it's Ace. Ace is the top high MMR escapee. Yay.
Do
Go
you think
Ace. Well done.
do you think you belong in the high end?
Do I think I'm in the high MMR? I think I'm more sort of
Broad?
low. The killers, the pick rates for the killers. In broad MMR, it is the Huntress. And in high MMR, it is the Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is the most picked in high MMR. And
Interesting.
kill rates, again, do not reflect at all. The Huntress is not in the kill rate of Broad MMR. That is Vecna leading out those guys for kill rate. And the Ghoul is fourth in the high MMR, but the actual top is the Krasu.
Oh. But I feel like for the Broad, it makes sense, like, Huntress is a free killer.
Yeah.
So many people maybe play her for, like, a few 10 games.
I guess, but the rest of the killers don't reflect that. So it's Huntress followed by Michael, followed by the animatronic, the Legion, and the Ghoul. So yeah, it doesn't reflect that, because I thought that as well. Like maybe it's all the free characters, but no, it is paid other than the Huntress. I guess people just like playing Huntress.
Yeah. Weird people.
Very weird people. Lots of dates for your diary this month going into April. On the 7th, we have a PTB. It's a mid-chapter PTB. I can't remember what we're getting in this PTB. I think it might just be a killer on their own. But I guess we'll find out on the 7th. I honestly have no idea. On the 11th of April, it is HorrorCon in Scotland, which I believe Dork is attending, and there will be lots of Dead
Yes.
by Daylight in attendance.
Mm.
Are you going?
I wish.
You can still go. It's still time. Get yourself
Well,
over here.
who wants to pay for my trip?
Moving on. And on and on April 28th this month, it's the return of 2 versus 8.
Ooh,
2
do love
versus
that.
8 is back at the end of April. And we get a new Rift Pass on the same day. So that is super exciting.
That is exciting. We need a
That
new
is-
one.
That's going to be a big day. April 28th. That's going in my calendar with a big circle around it and little love hearts.
Aww.
However, we've got to move on to this week's episode. And this week, it's all about the controlled aggression of the king, David King.
This week, we're going to talk about David King. And Mr. King is a bit different. We will look at the in-game bio, but then we are also going to look at 2 different tomes, because David King is in tome 2 and tome 11. But David grew up in Manchester as a single child in a wealthy family. Greatness was expected from David. And growing up, he did demonstrate serious potentials in sports and in academics. David's family had a lot of connections, so the whole world was ready for him. Any dream David had could have been done. Easy peasy. But David was not like the rest of his family. David was driven by adrenaline rush. And the way he would get that was from a good old-fashioned fight. So, I guess what we call a fist fight? David played rugby, and he was amazing. His reputation was that he could have a promising career, even though he was a bit reckless. But one day, at a rugby game, he did lose his temper at a referee, and he assaulted him. This gave David a lifetime ban from the rugby league. But this was not really a problem for David, as money wasn't a problem. So he just thought of it as an early retirement. So now he could focus on having fun. Fun for David was going to the pub, watching games, and getting into fights. Many people thought that he was just wasting his life. So in Tome 2, we jump straight into a fight in a pub. David's opponent has a bleeding face, busted nose, and chipped teeth. A friend of David with a gambling problem is cheering on him. And David knows that as long as his friend bets on him, everything will be fine. He has never lost a fight. And he didn't. But David was also late for a family meeting. Every fight David won was because he saw his father's face on the opponent. David's mother's life was a living hell with his father. And when his father, during the family meeting, was about to hit David's mother, David grabbed his arm and beat him up. When David left, his mother was trying to help his father, as she always did, while his father was yelling at David that he should never show his face at their house again. He never had any real friends. He had an entourage that was enjoying the high life that came with the credit card David had. But that was all they were. Now David had no money and no place to go. He really needed a friend. His accounts were almost empty, and David was trying his best to beat his old habits of spending. David looked up the guys he thought were his friends: Tommy, Mick, Bill, and Harry. But not a single one of them would or could help him. David knows that he can't live in a hotel forever. His funds are running low. But then he remembers, at his last fight he saw an old friend's face, a real friend. They had known each other from when they were toddlers. David looked up his friend and found his address. And then he jumped into a taxi, because taking a bus would be the good choice. When David got to Donnie's place, he realized how much he had been missing talking to a real friend. Someone who knew him before money meant anything to them. Donnie lets David know that he can stay as long as it takes for him to get back on his feet. While David talks to Donnie, there is a knock on the door, and a few men in black leather jackets are there to talk to Donnie. He can't hear much of the conversation, but he does get that Donnie owes money and will get a bundle of lead in the face if he doesn't pay up. As David really needs money, he starts to work, but he can't keep a job for long. And he has already lost 3 jobs. He just wants to go back to what he knows: fighting. In a dark back alley, he gets ready to fight. There is a crowd. They call his opponent the Ghetto Master. David is ready. He looks at the Ghetto Master And he does not see the face of his father. He just sees the ghetto master. Davis is confused. He hears Donnie screaming at him, and that is the last thing he remembers. The next thing is opening his eyes, laying on Donnie's couch. Donnie is asking if he's okay. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know what happened. Did he lose his rage? Donnie had bet the last of his cash on David winning the fight. But David gets a new job behind the bar at a pub. Donnie is getting a beer at the bar when some men comes and grab Donnie and take him to the basement. David runs to the basement where he finds the ghetto master beating up Donnie, while Uncle Brass is watching from a chair. David attacks the ghetto master, and this time his fist is deadly. Uncle Brass is sending more guys to help the ghetto master, but David has already cracked the ghetto master's knees, and with his thumbs into the eye sockets, an eyeball popped out, still attached to some nerves. Uncle Brass yells stop and tells David that he has the right to rip off his head with what he has done to the ghetto master, but if David will work for him, Donnie's debt will be paid off. If we look at Tome 11, there is more fighting. But as we have 2 tomes this week, I'm going to skip some of the fighting here, because there is something way more important in this tome. So in Tome 11, we learn that David's mother forced him to go to music camp when he was 7 years old. And then David is telling this story to his friend Rick. David met Tristan at the camp. Tristan was playing the piano, and at first David's mother was happy that he had a new friend. After some time, she figured things out and forbid Tristan to come over. She explained to David how important the king name was, and that they had to keep their image as a family. Tristan and David ended up at the same secondary school, and they used to write notes to each other, and sometimes Tristan would write a quote or some poetry. They were together for years. But when Tristan started to ask to be introduced to his parents, David broke up with him because he knew he could never bring Tristan home. David tells Rick that the last year Tristan wanted a real commitment. He was talking about family and children, and David almost did it, but instead he broke his heart. Tristan had called David a few days ago and invited him to a party, a going away party, for that evening. Tristan is moving to New York where he's going to play piano, and a guy that he just met is moving with him. Rick tells David to go to that party and talk to Tristan. David is not sure, but he does end up going to the cafe where the party is. And there is no one there. A waitress tells him that they already left for the airport. David takes a moment to think. Then he runs from the cafe and gets a taxi. On the way to the airport, he is rehearsing what he is going to say to Tristan. As they arrive, David jumps out and run, but the taxi driver yells at him and David runs back to pay him. Then he is off again. He finds a monitor that shows departures. There is one flight leaving for New York, and he runs for the terminal. But just to get stopped by security. They tell him there's no way he can pass without a boarding card. David stops and tries to process everything at once. He tries to explain what is happening, but they won't let him through. Then David runs and finds a check-in counter, get a business class ticket to New York. And he's off again, gets through security without any issues. He runs as fast as he can and gets to the gate. He sees Tristan with his new partner. They look happy. David freezes and he feels guilty. He feels sick. He turns around and runs to the bathroom and finds an empty stall to empty his stomach. And then he gets a sudden realization that if he really loves Tristan, like truly loves him, he would let him go. As David is walking away, he changes his mind. He has to seize the moment, or he will never know what could have happened. David turns around and runs back. As he runs, he doesn't know what to say. But he's sure that he will say something, anything. It's like his body is full of energy and butterflies. As David gets to the gate, Tristan is about to board the plane. David's mouth opens in a silent scream as he stumbles and falls on his face. Tristan takes David's hand and helps him up. Tristan's new partner comes closer, but he gestures for him to wait. And then Tristan pulls David aside and asks him what is wrong and what happened to him. Because before leaving to the cafe, David was lying on the street after a fight, so he probably looked rough. David wants Tristan to know that he meant the world to him, that he loves him. But what he says to Tristan is, no more bullshit. Tristan's tried to understand, but is confused. He looks happy and sad at the same time. And then the next thing we get to know in the tome is that David is walking home in the rain. He feels high on life. He had expected a fairy tale ending, but he also understands that Tristan's need to, time to think about things. He's just hoping that Tristan is going to call him as soon as he gets off the plane and ask him to join him in New York. But he's also scared that what if Tristan calls and tell him it's over? That thought caught David by surprise. But also, that is the most likely thing to happen, as life is not a fairy tale. As he is walking home, he sees things that reminds him of Tristan. The park where they would sit on a bench and people watch all day. As David is walking through the park, he suddenly hears a soft whisper. No more bullshit. He turns around, rubs his eyes, and hears Tristan laugh while saying, "Only you can butcher a line like that." David doesn't know what have happened. Did Tristan not board the plane? David knows better than to start overthink. He runs to Tristan with open arms, but as soon as he touches him, Tristan disappears. David drops to his knees, and when he looks back up, he sees the faces of every bully, abuser, or shithead he has ever fought in his life. David gets up, ready to tackle, kick, hit, until he is the last man standing. But then a weird black fog starts to pull him down into a world of darkness. When David stopped showing up at the pub, no one was really that surprised. They assumed that he had picked a fight with someone stronger than him. The end.
Oh, do we have any videos with the tomes this week?
The one after this tome is Tristan and David at school giving notes to each other. But the note is picked up by a bully and David is going to fight him. So there's no like explanations or anything. It's just like part of the stories. Yeah.
Cool.
So that is what we know about David.
There's quite a lot. David, obviously, being our first official LGBTQ character,
Exactly.
which is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about a little bit about it before, but the LGBTQ plus community are huge in DVD. We play with and against many. DVD behavior have always been massively supportive of all sexualities and tried to make everyone welcome. And this is a massive way to show representation within the game.
Yeah. And apparently they wanted it to be more subtle that he was gay. But that is why they released a second tome. And David was to like confirm, yes, he is gay. And I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah,
I I could be a bit annoyed that with things not like matching up.
yeah,
Like in the first tome, we don't hear about any Tristan. We hear about another friend and that he doesn't have any friends. And now in the new one, we hear that since he was 7, he had known Tristan. And also,
yeah.
how did he get through passport control at the airport? Like, I have questions.
There are always questions, but also I think behavior leave things sometimes a little vague.
Mm,
Like we don't know the sexuality of a lot of the characters.
yeah,
It's never pointed out, and it doesn't really need to be pointed out when someone is gay or not, or if they have any other sexual preferences. Like these are characters for people to paint their own conclusions on too often. We get a little bit of lore, but you don't need to know everything about them, and you decorate their story however you wish.
exactly. It shouldn't matter what anybody is.
Should we find out more about David?
Yes, please tell me about David.
David King is all about taking hits, making plays, and dragging your team through the match, whether they like it or not. Uh, his perks reward boldness, protection, committing to risky situations, and turning bad moments into clutch saves. David King is not particularly subtle. He's not particularly careful. He is a survivor who runs towards the problem. A few bits of trivia before we get going. Obviously, we did mention that he is the first LGBTQ character who is mentioned in the game. In an interview with Matthew Cote, he described David as an asshole.
He is. I'm sorry, but
you,
he is.
you will also find that Matthew said a lot of things about David as we go through. He has 2 tattoos. He has one behind his left ear of a rose, an English rose, and one on his right forearm of a lion. The English lion. A proper English lad is our David. According to the file names, his nickname is Smoke.
Smoke.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, that is apparently something that has been discovered. Let's talk about Smoke's perks, shall we? He has 3 teachable perks, and we will do them in alphabetical order. One of them is very controversial. Perk 1 is Dead Hard. However, it was originally called Line Break, according to Matthew Cote. So yeah, he talks a lot about David. You'll find Line Break was the original name. Dead Hard. When you are unhooked by any means, Dead Hard activates. When you are injured, you can press your ability button to trigger Endurance for 0.5 seconds, which means you can take a hit. It can't be used when you're exhausted, and it causes exhausted for 40 seconds. It's one use, Dead Hard. Once you've used it, you need to then get unhooked again to be able to use it again. This is a iconic survivor perk. A lot of people use Dead Hard. It's pretty meta. Good killers wait it out. They will often fake a hit so that Dead Hard is used. It's also one of these perks where if someone uses it wrongly or accidentally, it can cause a little bit of embarrassment if it's being streamed. People who use Dead Hard and don't get hit will often stop a survivor and just look at the killer like, yeah, I fucked that up. It's time for you to take your kill now. However, if you do use it well, if you get the timing right, it can extend a chase. It can double the length of a chase. It can get you out of a chase completely. But yeah, it needs some very precise timing. It can be incredibly wrong. It can be clutch in a chase. The cages of Pinhead make Dead Hard useless. It doesn't count as being unhooked if you come out of a cage, so Dead Hard does not trigger. His second perk, No Mither. Again, Matthew Cote said that No Mither was originally going to be called Just a Scratch. And some of the early promotional material calls it Just a Scratch. No Mither, and it is, can we just clarify this, by the way, before we move on? It is No Mither and not No Mither. I hear people call it No Mither. It is No Mither. It's a term from the north of England. If you are mithering around, you are bothering and fussing. So yeah, just to clarify, it is No Mither. When you start the game, you are broken. You are permanently broken throughout the entire game. You do not have pools of blood. You do not have any grunts of pain during the whole game. You can fully recover from the dying state. So if you are downed, you are fully recoverable and you recover by 25% faster. Oh, this is rubbish. This is rubbish. It's rubbish. It's the only perk which starts you in the game broken. That is viewable by your teammates. It's also viewable by the killer. And as it's the only perk that does this, the killer knows not to leave you on the ground, which is its only benefit. So if you get downed, the killer's going to pick you up as quickly as possible and hook you. Which renders it absolutely useless, in my opinion. I think they could fix this. I think they could fix this in two ways. They could either hide the broken status until you're hit for the first time, so it's not shown in the HUD that you have no either, or they can add in more perks where you're broken at the start, which I know will be horrible. But if they think about it a bit, I'm sure they can come up with more perks that start you up broken. So that's not obvious that you're starting with no either. When is it useful? Very, very, very rarely. If you're doing memes, it's useful. If you want to be trolled, it's useful. If you're doing a challenge, it's useful. If you're up against someone who is running Bloodhound, it's useful because they can't see your blood. If you're up against twins and they're running Victor a lot, who can only see blood, it's useful. Every other time, it's useless. It's really, really useless. It's the perk that when it comes up on Chaos Shuffle, everybody curses. It can't be used with a whole bunch of perks. It can't be used with, I had a quick count and it's something like 25 perks that it doesn't synergize with. Any perk that requires you that doesn't work when you're injured, doesn't work with those, dramaturgy, etc. Doesn't work with anything where you're broken. So anything like second wind, clean break, don't work. Anything that heals you, solidarity, reactive healing, don't work. Self-care, strength and shadows, they don't work. All of these don't work. So it's pretty pointless. Pretty pointless. So yeah, don't use it, is my tip, unless you're trying to do some kind of meme build. Perk number 3, we're gonna live forever. We're gonna live forever. It had an original name. Thank you, Matthew Cote. It was called I Got You, Son, which is the worst name for a perk I've ever heard. I got you, son. This also doesn't work with cages, by the way. Worth knowing that. You benefit when you are healing a dying survivor. You are healing 100% quicker from the dying state, and anyone who you get up from dying gets endurance for 10 seconds, and you can only use that once every 30 seconds. This is a good perk. It's good for team play. It's good for getting saves. It's good for picking up slug teammates. If you've got a Swift that's all about sabotaging and getting downed and slugged and things and getting out of slugs, it can really kind of help that. And sometimes the meta sways into slugging. It currently kind of is in the blood point event, in the blood moon event. So it can be really helpful for those kinds of things. So yeah, Dead Hard, No Mither, and We're Gonna Live Forever are his 3 perks. All of them are Manchester sayings, I guess. Dead Hard means dead tough. That lad over there is dead hard. No Mither is like no bother. And We're Gonna Live Forever is a Oasis reference, a Manchester band, popular in the 90s and now They are popular all the time. Do you have any experience of these at all, Lemon?
I feel like his perks are just confusing me.
In
Like
what sense?
no mither is just like why? And then the first one, what was that called?
Dead Hard?
That had I honestly don't think I understand what the fuck that is about.
So you can take a hit essentially. So a killer tries to hit you, you press the button, and you basically take the hit, and you can continue running. You don't take that second hit to down you.
But what if the killer doesn't hit?
Then you do a little kind of dab, and then the killer hits you. It's all about timing. It's very, very timing appropriate.
Maybe that is the part I don't understand because I do not have that much timing in my life. Um, and the last one,
We're
meh,
gonna live forever.
meh.
It's all right if you're building around that. I have a build that has "We're gonna live forever" and works kind of well.
Hmm.
Some builds that you might want to try out with David. Maybe you want to try out a classic aggro David. Take lots and lots of aggro. Dead hard, Windows opportunity, resilience, adrenaline. Try and extend those chases. Try and get the pressure on the killer and try and clutch the end game with adrenaline. Or maybe you want to be an altruistic David. We're going to live forever for the people. Buckle up. Sprint burst. Get lots of saves. Get lots of pickups. Cause lots of chaos. Or perhaps you want to try No Mither Madness. No Mither. Resilience. Dead hard. Maybe Iron Will for some reason. And just commit to the bit. Commit to the meme. See if you can survive that. He is moderately beginner friendly. Dead hard takes a fair bit of practice. I would recommend running dead hard and just trying to get used to that timing. Um, no Mither is incredibly niche. And yeah, dead hard can be quite sweaty. It's one of those sweaty kind of perks that you see a lot of people running and trying to master. He is a bit of a staple survivor, and it's mostly due to Dead Hard. Honestly, that is quite meta. A lot of people run it. Um, he rewards confidence if you are confident using your Dead Hard. Not particularly safe, but he can be quite effective. Um, yeah, that's basically David. Dead Hard can be a both a boon and a bust if you do that dead hard that makes you just dab in front of the killer.
Yeah, I have never really used any, but I should probably try and get him adapt.
Yeah.
But another thing I do love about David
Mm-hmm. Go on.
is some of his outfits. He has
Oh yeah.
some good outfits.
I told you I should add the fashion bit into this.
Yeah, I know you did it, and maybe you're right because David, he got he got it. He got it right.
He has. There is a shirtless David, which a lot of people go for. He's quite
Mm,
buff.
mm,
There's Slate's fit, the Valentine suit fit,
yeah,
which I quite like. That sort of off-red scarlet suit looks a bit thing. My favorite. Would you have a favorite David fit?
I don't know what it's called. My favorite David
What did
fit.
to describe what it looks like?
Well, it was from that tome where Jane was like the center of attention. Not tome rift. There was like a leather outfit for David in red.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know the one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know the one, yeah. My my favorite is his Christmas jumper. His Christmas jumper's all rugby themed, and on the back it just says "Good try," which makes me giggle. It's such a silly joke.
I don't get it.
That's the best way to be. Every week, we try to recommend someone new from the Dead by Daylight space. And this week, we're pointing you in the direction of the King. Not David King. This is the King. Um, Mostly known on YouTube, can be found at The King Gaming. They do all heaps of interesting Dead by Daylight content. They do interviews and news. They do Dead by Daylight game shows. It's incredibly well edited and very entertaining. They've done interviews with Matthew Cote, which is one of the things that I've seen over there and enjoyed. Very occasionally, they will stream on Twitch, but not very often. But yeah, I've never caught one of their Twitch streams, but I have seen their YouTube content and quite enjoyed it. How about yourself, Lemon? Is this someone new to you or
Never heard about them. The king?
the King? That's what they call themselves. I don't
Your
know if they're
king?
a David King main, but yeah, no, it's not my king. It's not the English king, the British king.
Well, it's not my king.
Well, it's not my king. It's the King. I will post their link to their YouTube in the show notes for everyone to look them up and enjoy. Hey, Lemon, who is next week's character?
Can you guess if I say ring, ring, ring?
No,
What the fuck? It's the cannibal
the cannibal.
and his
And we're
chainsaw.
going to follow up the cannibal with Bill. The cannibal was a mid chapter single killer on their own, and we like to do a killer followed by a survivor. So we will be following the cannibal with Bill.
Yes, we will.
As a reminder, we do have a website, beyondcampfire.com, where we have links to all major podcast platforms, how to find us, how to find our socials. We are, I promise, going to start posting our question of the week on socials. We did not do so this week for various reasons. Mostly that we didn't. That's the main reason we didn't do it. However, we have been watching our numbers and we have hit 1,000 listeners, Lemon.
Yes, we have. I'm so excited.
Hooray! We have hit 1,000 listeners of this podcast. So, to say thank you, we would like to say thank you to one lucky winner who is going to win a t shirt with our logo on it. It will be the first and the only of its kind for a while. I can't see us doing merch in a wee while.
No.
So, it will be the only shirt of its kind. And we are opening this competition for the whole of April to give people a chance to catch up with the podcast if they are listening to this later. So if it is still April 2026 and you're listening to this, here's what you need to do. You need to go along to our Blue Sky or our X account. There will be a pinned post throughout the whole of April, and that pinned post will tell you the how to win and will give you more information of the competition. But basically, it's a retweet or a share. You just need to share that particular post to your account, and then wait for the draw, which will be at the end of the month. We will give a entry for both the Blue Sky and the X. So if you're on both platforms, that is 2 entries. And yeah, we would love to see people enter that competition. Good luck, everyone.
And maybe during the month and later episodes,
Mm,
we will give an option for bonus entries.
a bonus entry. That's exciting.
Maybe. So keep listening.
I will keep listening. Do you have any questions for the listeners this week, Lemon?
Yes.
Go
I
for it.
really, really want to know, has anybody, any of our listeners ever been in a fist fight?
Good question. I have an answer as well.
The way your face look, I don't think it was that good a question.
It was a good no, it was a good question. I was thinking about what I'm gonna talk about next week is what I was thinking. I was thinking
Ooh,
about my answer.
I can't
Um,
wait.
I'm looking forward to your answer for that one as well.
Mhm.
My question is a little bit based on Matthew Cote's alternative perk names. I want to know what your alternative perk names are out there. If you have any fun names for perks which aren't the official name, because I know we do. Um, so yeah, you have a perk that you run, and you give it any fun names within your Swift or in your own head, I guess.
Mean we have to admit next week what we call some things.
Oh, we've got a lot to admit next week. And while everyone starts to pull together their admissions for next week and goes to check out our socials, remember, play safe out there and don't get hooked.